this world, there lurks a palpable and terrifying evil. It hides within the darkest shadows and thrives in the most ordinary places. These are the true stories of the innocent juxtaposed with the unimaginable. Each night pulsates with life, vibrant and alive, yet, when the music fades and the crowds drift away, the atmosphere turns frigid, as cold as a crypt. An angry ghost prowls the premises, haunting the employees with a sinister warning. One of them is on the brink of death. In the eerie space between the world we perceive and the things that instill fear, there exist doors waiting to be opened. Once they creak ajar, nightmares seep into reality, blurring the lines of existence. Springfield, Illinois, has long been a way station for gamblers and musicians, a transient hub alive with the clink of coins and the strumming of melodies. But not all who entered were merely passing through. For one tortured soul, the Lake Club became an inescapable trap, a relentless snare where death proved to be just the beginning of an even more harrowing journey. In the sweltering summer of 1974, club owners Philip Dean and Tony Barbado prepared the Lake Club for a prospective renter named Bill Carmine. "Hey, Bill, nice to meet you," Philip greeted, a smile masking the shadows lurking beneath the club's neon glow. Bill squared his shoulders, the weight of disappointment heavy on him. "I had a construction business with my dad and brother. Unfortunately, the energy crunch brought it crashing down. We pulled our meager savings and began searching for something, anything, we could invest in it. That's when we heard the old Lake Club was up for grabs. Bill, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but we've hosted some truly outstanding entertainment over the years," Tony chimed in, inviting curiosity as he leaned closer. Bill nodded warily. "Ella Fitzgerald graced this stage the place first opened in 1941, Philip added, a hint of pride in his voice yet tainted by an ominous undertone. "Yes, here, legendary musicians like Nat King Cole and Ella Fitzgerald entertained crowds of up to 1,200 guests. Yet, the club has been shuttered for the past 6 years, Tony continued, his voice layered with a sense of loss. "What you're looking at is a turnkey operation," Bill hesitated, the air thickening with unspoken possibilities. "Can you work something out financially at my house?" he inquired, his eyes darting around the neglected space, feeling the weight of its history. "The owners have taken good care of their property," Philip assured, but his glance flickered to the edges of darkness, as if they were only beginning to scratch the surface of what lay beneath. "All right," Bill replied, a mix of excitement and trepidation swirling within him. "Take care, Dill." Philip responded, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. "All right, call me later," Bill urged, eager to solidify his stake in the dream. "I will," Philip assured, though his tone carried a weight of uncertainty. "Make sure to prepare the bar," he added, the corners of his mouth tightening with unspoken worries. "Sure," came Bill's response as he started to walk around, taking in the remnants of a fading grandeur. The glasses were all there, the chairs meticulously arranged. It felt almost like a turnkey venture. Just walk in and open up, and all Bill needed to breathe life back into the nightclub was a liquor license and a band. As they slipped into the back office, Philip Dean finalized the deal, a palpable tension hanging in the air. "There you go, sir," he said, handing over the paperwork with an almost ritualistic gravity. Bill's eyes drifted toward an unsettling sight, a hole in the ceiling. "What do we have here?" "What's that, a water leak or something?" he asked, a frown marring his brow. "Dusty, you can fix that, can't you?" Philip questioned, his voice slightly strained. "Yeah, that'll be good as noon, no problem," Dusty assured, though skepticism lingered in the space between them. "Couple days," Bill pressed, a hint of urgency in his tone. "Good as new," Dusty confirmed, but the chill in his voice hinted at the decay creeping just beneath the surface, like the ghosts that might still linger in the shadows of the club. Dean quickly reassured Bill, "Don't worry, the caretaker, Dusty, will take care of that problem." Over the next few days, Bill spent long, grueling hours alone in the club, pouring his energy into getting the once vibrant space ready for business. But unease hung in the air like a thick fog. One evening, as he played a few notes on the piano in the back, an echo of loneliness filled the room. "Anybody out there?" he called out, his voice wavering, but there was only silence that stretched ominously around him. "I know I heard that piano," he whispered to himself, a chill slithering down his spine. The sensation reminded him of those moments when you're walking down a dark alley, and suddenly a dog lunges out, barking ferociously. That familiar prickle tingled at the nape of his neck, sending needles of apprehension racing throughout his body. "Is there anybody out there?" he repeated, his voice laced with an anxious edge, as shadows danced just out of reach, threatening to swallow him whole. Bill prowled the empty building, searching every corner and crevice, but found no one in the shadows. Yet, in the back of his mind, doubt lingered. Did I really hear the piano playing? The thought nagged at him, elusive and frustrating, and when he couldn't find an explanation, he shrugged it off as if it were merely a figment of his imagination, a trick of the echoes around him. As fall descended in 1974, under the new management of Bill Carmine, the anticipation built like a tightrope stretched above a chasm. When the word finally spread and they opened the doors that night, the response was overwhelming, an electric wave of energy that surged through the crowd. We drank copious amounts of beer, laughter and cheers filling the air before long. We were completely out of booze and ice, a chaotic testament to the night's exuberance. We stumbled through the exhilarating chaos of the first night, purged of restraint, and scurried to better prepare for the second night. The rhythm of the nights rolled on like a relentless tide, enveloping them in the pulsating highlights of life and revelry. Yet the shadows of the past loomed ever present, whispering warnings just beneath the surface. Bill quickly came to a sobering realization. He couldn't run the club by himself. Turning to musician Tom Blasco, he said, "Hey, 650, buy you guys a drink." Tom's smirk was a mingling of camaraderie and playfulness. "I first became involved with the Lake Club when my band was hired there," he recalled, a fondness lighting up his expression as he remembered the magic of those early nights. "I met one of the owners, and we hit it off, became friends." Tom leaned in, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "You do such a good job here, Bill. I know you've got it. We've got a reporter interested in investing, and I asked him if he wanted to come in. I want you to manage the place." There was an excitement in the air, an intriguing scenario that beckoned him. Without hesitation, he jumped in on the opportunity. With a fresh wave of entertainment flooding the venue, the atmosphere transformed. The place roared to life like a heat wave breaking over a parched landscape. Everything was firing on all cylinders. It was fantastic. Everybody got along effortlessly, laughter echoing late into the night. They had a stellar lineup of entertainment, their patrons reveling in the delightful camaraderie. Each night became a celebration, a cherished oasis where every visit felt like a homecoming, and the thrill of anticipation hung palpably in the air. "Thank you, guys." Surprise, Bill exclaimed, the joy in his voice masking the unease that danced just below the surface. After hours, the managers would hold private parties with friends and employees, filling the air with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Over time, these co-workers became like family, sharing in the exhilarating rush that enveloped the club's vibrant atmosphere. But as the camaraderie grew, a nagging question lingered in the shadows. Should I be afraid? For waitress Barbara Lard, the Lake Club initially seemed like the perfect working environment. "I started working at the Lake Club when I was 21 and a half, she reminisced, her voice imbued with a sense of nostalgia. "I was very young, very naive, and not in any way, shape or form, prepared for what would come in the future. Each shift, though filled with energy and engagement, also wrapped her in an unsettling cloak. Suddenly, I would find myself enveloped by this cold, a chill that seeped through my bones, engulfing my entire body, leaving me feeling exposed and vulnerable. The eeriness was always just a heartbeat away, a dark undercurrent that gnawed at her sense of comfort, despite the merriment surrounding her." Tom dismissed the unsettling sensations as a mere oversight, assuming he had simply neglected to turn off one of the air conditioning units in the basement. Still, the chill that pervaded the air felt almost sentient, like someone was right behind him, watching. One night after closing, as he lingered in the haunting silence, a terrifying sense of being not alone washed over him, and fear gripped his heart with icy fingers. "I became extremely scared," he confessed, barely able to catch his breath. Overwhelmed by dread, he bolted from the building, leaving both the lights and the air conditioner running, the background hum and flickering shadows amplifying his urgency. It was a moment that straddled the line between reality and the irrational, a situation he tried desperately to rationalize, knowing full well it was happening despite the nagging disbelief in his mind. Tom decided to keep this spine-chilling experience to himself, wishing to avoid the bemused glances that often greeted such tales. Sometimes when you share these stories, people look at you like you're a little bit crazy, he reflected. So, he opted to swallow his fear, to keep it tucked away, and simply observe what might unfold later, his heart heavy with unacknowledged terror. One evening, Bill finally confided in Tom, revealing, "I've had some strange experiences inside the club." Tom's brow furrowed, a mix of curiosity and concern, etching his features. "Are you sure you didn't see anybody there?" He pressed. "There was no one in there, man," Bill insisted, his voice taut with anxiety. "I walked and the piano cover was down. I explored every nook and cranny, but there was nobody there." It was the uncertainty that gnawed at him, the unknowable terror that lurked just beyond the shadows. "I think the scariest thing was that unknown part about it. You didn't know what was happening, or who it was, or what it was." Tom's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "We can't let anybody know about this, all right?" "All right," Bill acquiesced, feeling the gravity of their shared fears. It could be bad for business. Both Tom and Bill exchanged wary glances, united in their silent agreement not to frighten the employees or patrons. "That's some strange stuff," Tom remarked thoughtfully. "You really don't want word to leak out. Otherwise, people wouldn't want to come out and visit the business." The implications loomed menacingly between them, a dark cloud threatening to overshadow the revelry that once filled the lake club with life and laughter. For weeks, a deceptive calm settled over the lake club, and Tom and Bill found themselves tricked into thinking they had escaped the unsettling presence that haunted the place. "Anytime you got to do me a favor," Tom said one day, breaking the stillness. "Yeah?" What Bill asked, his curiosity piqued. "I've got a real important meeting, if you know what I mean." "Can you do me a favor? Can you finish doing the money, cut the car receipts, the books, and all that?" Yeah, no problem," Bill replied, the easy camaraderie between them briefly masking the undercurrents of unease. "All right, men on, see you tomorrow," Tom said, leaving his shadows continue to flicker in the corners of the club. But one night, after business hours, the atmosphere shifted ominously. It was as if whispers of a forgotten gathering permeated the air, a din of people talking, their voices mingling in a conversation that remained just out of reach, unintelligible yet haunting. As dread settled over him, I started carrying a rosary, thinking that as a Catholic, it would protect me against whatever darkness lingered in those walls. "Hello, anybody in here?" I called, but the silence was deafening, pressing against my chest like an invisible weight. The following morning, I returned to get set up for the next night, only to be met by an unsettling sight. All of the cash was still on the table, and the safe stood wide open. "Whoa, Phil." "All right," I breathed, my heart racing. "He snaked the hell out of me. What's going on?" "What happened in here?" I questioned, my mind racing with dread. "Look, I know what it looks like. But something really crazy happened last night," Phil confessed, his voice trembling. "What is it?" I pushed, urgency tightening my throat. I walked down the hall, looking everywhere for something. He stammered, a sheen of fear glistening in his eyes. I couldn't see anybody, nobody was around, and then somebody was there. He paused, the terror palpable in the air. Before continuing, it scared the hell out of me. I don't really remember running out of there and leaving the money. All I knew was that I had to get out. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air, echoing the unease that had begun to seep into their lives once more as strange events became more frequent. The unnerving undercurrents of the lake club loomed larger over the two managers, compelling them to share their eerie experiences with trusted employees like Barbara Lard. "All of us," Tom stated, the seriousness in his tone drawing everyone's attention. Bill nodded, remembering the countless peculiar occurrences they had mulled over together. That's right," he added, yet there was a hint of skepticism in their voices. "I really didn't believe that there was actually a ghost lurking around here, Barbara confessed, her eyes wide with intrigue and just a tinge of fear. But we're going to make more of these ghost stories while it became an entertaining topic. A source of laughter, it was sprinkled with a doubt that hung over them all. Deep down, Barbara didn't truly believe, but the thrill of the unknown was too captivating to resist. One day, just before the club opened for business, an unexpected sound sliced through the morning stillness. A trombone playing in the back, echoing through the empty halls. It was awfully early for the band to be there, and the lingering mystery unnerved her. "I didn't hear anybody come through," she said, unease pulling in her gut. Barbara couldn't shake the notion that someone must have let a band member in to practice early. A few hours later, when the band finally arrived, the atmosphere shifted again. "Hey, you are the trombone player, right?" we asked, eyebrows raised in curiosity. "Did you leave and come back?" "No, that wasn't me," he replied, confusion knitting his brow. "No, I heard you playing about an hour ago up in the practice room. It was pretty good," we insisted, urgency lacing our voices. No, I don't think so. We just got here," he countered, his expression mirroring our bewilderment. "I was never here half an hour ago, maybe," he added, the words heavy with unspoken tension as we exchanged glances, the weight of the inexplicable thudding in our minds. The band leader turned to Barbara, an amused glint in his eye, and explained that just 30 minutes earlier, they had all been in a restaurant, enjoying dinner. "That wasn't me," he chuckled. "Sorry, definitely wasn't me. We were locked in the van." "Come on." We dismissed it as just a joke, a playful tease to lighten the mood. "Oh, really?" Barbara countered, a mix of skepticism and disbelief dancing across her features. He said, "Barb, we are not kidding you," the band leader insisted, his tone now serious. "He was with us at supper. It's early today. Smitty and I are setting up a bar." "Okay," she conceded, her mind still whirling with confusion, as, once again, the haunting sound of a trombone pierced the air around them, echoing ominously through the club. As the day wore on, Bill, Tom, and all of the employees began to speak in hushed tones about the bizarre occurrences. "Maybe there is something more going on here," Bill mused, his words heavy with realization, "because we've got all these weird happenings." Uneasiness rippled through the group. People were scared. The patrons remained blissfully unaware of the underlying tensions, but the employees who worked there felt the oppressive weight of fear clinging to them like a second skin. Even some of the bands that came in had started expressing their concerns, quietly approaching us with the same worried expressions etched into our own faces. "There's something not right with this place," they whispered, and a collective agreement emerged among us. Something strange was undeniably afoot. The problem was, nobody was ever there when it happened. It was one of those things again, the mystery deepening. Something's going on, and we've got to do something about it. We've got to do something fast. The urgency nestled in our hearts, feeding our determination to confront the unknown looming within the walls of the Lake Club. Despite the lingering unease, the Lake Club's owners and employees fought to maintain business as usual. "Hey, you got a nice place in here, man," a patron remarked, his tone light as he took in the surrounding sound. "Yeah, thank you," Tom replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "You book a lot of bands," the patron continued, adding to the atmosphere of normalcy. "Yeah, we're doing pretty well," Bill answered, his words tinged with an underlying tension that belied their forced ease. One morning, a salesman visited the club, his presence a welcome distraction from the growing tension. "So I guess you were pretty busy then," he began, his voice upbeat as he approached the wiry duo. "What I've got here is an automatic check-write machine," I figured. "Well, okay. I'm going to let him do his bill. Tell him no." "It's very simple," the salesman continued, enthusiasm bubbling in his voice. "Everything's documented. It has checks written. You don't have to worry about buying a checkbook or balancing and all of that. The managers can write the checks, and it really makes things a lot simpler." Even as he pitched, his voice seemed to travel through layers of uncertainty in the air, conveying that life had taken on an odd rhythm. "You don't have to worry about the bookkeeping later, and it really simplifies life," he assured them. "It makes your business run much smoother, easier." His words trailed off as he turned, suddenly startled. Your bookkeeper, the salesman began, but the interruption of a ghostly presence seemed to surge around them, making him jump. Scared the hell out of you, he finally admitted sheepishly, the atmosphere thick with the weight of collective anxiety. Sorry about that. The violence of this latest event struck Bill with a bitter clarity, shattering any illusions he had of normalcy. He realized he could no longer pretend to ignore what had been happening. A heavy weight settled on his shoulders as he faced the dilemma. We were wondering what measures we should take, he admitted, glancing at Tom, who mirrored his concern. You can close the doors on the business because we've got a problem there, Bill continued, his voice taut with frustration. So we were kind of between a rock and a hard spot one particular night. The club was packed to the gills, more people crammed inside than you could shake a stick at. The bartenders and waiters darted through the crowd like frantic fireflies, moving at an unimaginable pace to keep up with the relentless demand. It was unbelievable. Laughter and chatter buzzed like electricity. Yet the tension simmered beneath, threatening to boil over at any moment. There were 12 women waiting in line up at the restaurant, their impatience palpable. I've got to go, one of them exclaimed, urgency coloring her tone. Well, just go in my office here. Come on, it's open. Just go ahead and use it, Tom replied, attempting to offer a quick solution amidst the chaos. It's not open, don't see me, she shot back, annoyance lacing her words. Oh, okay, thanks, he conceded, feeling the strain of the night creep into his demeanor as the club pulsed with life, blissfully unaware of the darkness lurking just below the surface. When I finally returned to the office, an unsettling chill washed over me, wrapping around my chest like an iron vice. The discomfort was almost palpable, a sense of dread that I initially brushed off as nerves from the night's frenetic energy. Yet deep down, I couldn't shake the haunting thought, one of the owners. They're going to die. Meanwhile, waitress Barbara Large stumbled into the scene, her face ashen, eyes wide with terror. I believe I've just seen a ghost, she whispered, her voice trembling, and I was in a state of shock. Barbara, what's wrong? I implored, my concern mounting as I noticed the panic etched across her features. I can't tell you, she stammered, her fear palpable and contagious. Just sit down, Barbara, I urged, trying to anchor her amid the storm of emotions swirling around us. Well, go back in the office and sit down. No, I'm not going back there, she insisted, desperation creeping into her voice. Well, I'm not going back there either. I'm never going back there again, I replied, feeling the weight of our shared fear press heavily on my chest. All right, I finally relented. Go ahead and take the rest of the night off. Her terror was overwhelming, and I'd never seen her like that before. The starkness of her fright sending a shiver down my spine, igniting an instinctual understanding that something was very, very wrong at the lake club. Hey, come on in, I called out, trying to break the tension that hung in the air. Gosh, the words seemed to hang awkwardly as I gestured toward Barbara, her demeanor still fraught with anxiety. Yeah, why don't you give us a minute the next day? Barbara hesitantly began to describe the man she had encountered in the back office, her voice trembling as she recounted her terrifying experience. What happened there? I asked, my curiosity tinged with dread. I went in there, she started, her gaze dropping as if she could still feel his presence, and he spoke to me. What did he say? I pressed. Desperate for clarity, she paused, her expression clouded with fear. I can't tell you. You can't tell us. Why can't you tell me? I urged, frustration mingling with my concern. I can't tell you. One of the owners is going to die, she blurted, the weight of her words crashing down like a cold wave. We can't help you out if you don't tell us what he said to you. We need to know. The urgency in my voice reflected the rising stakes of the situation, the unshakable feeling that time was slipping away. I wrestled with my decision not to tell Tom and Bill what Barbara had revealed, and it weighed heavily on my conscience. It was a difficult choice, fraught with fear. I was terrified, and I didn't want that dread to settle like a fog over their minds, burdening them with the terrible prospect lurking in the shadows of the lake club. Determined to uncover the unsettling truth surrounding a lake club, Bill decided to seek answers from someone well versed in its history. With a sense of urgency, He paid a visit to Dusty, the club's longtime caretaker. "Everything good, right?" Dusty greeted him, though the concern in his eyes hinted at something deeper. "Oh, everything okay, so." She was in the bathroom when she saw this guy. A big guy, Bill replied, a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach as he recounted Barbara's encounter. Dusty listened intently as Bill described the ghost's 2 big heads. "Big long mustache that sounds like Rudy," Dusty said, his brow furrowing in recognition. Rudy, remember the guy I was talking about?" Bill's heart raced. "Rudy? You mean the guy who used to bartend here?" "Yeah, he used to bartend here." Dusty nodded, memories flickering like shadows across his face. "Yeah, picture that's him right there," Bill insisted, drawing from his memory the image of the ghostly figure. "Yeah, look at that," Dusty said, rummaging through a box of old photographs. He finally produced a group of photos taken during Rudy's tenure at the club, displaying a jovial bartender surrounded by familiar faces. "I'll show these to Barbara. I'll let her take a look at it," Bill resolved, feeling a swell of determination. "Trust me, everything's fine. You're doing a great job," the words echoed around them, but doubt still lingered in the air. An ominous reminder that the truth was yet to be fully unveiled. Bill approached Barbara, the photos clutched tightly in his hand. "Tell me, do you recognize anybody? This is him," she declared, her voice trembling as she pointed to the image, her eyes flaring with recognition. "That's who," he pressed, chest tightening with anticipation. "This is the man that I saw. This is the man that I saw in your office. This is him," Bill confirmed, feeling a chill creep up his spine as the revelation hung thick in the air. "Okay," Barbara whispered, her color draining as the weight of her encounter crashed down around them. Once back with the others, Bill explained what Dusty had uncovered. Cranor worked at the club in the days when Philip Dean and Tony Barbato ran the business. He began, each word uncovering layers of the chilling past. He made a small fortune in tips from well-heeled patrons at the club's illegal casino. But in December 1958, police raided the club, putting a dent in Rudy's earnings. The financial stress that followed gave him excruciating stomach ulcers. Bill's voice faltered momentarily, the tragic details weighing on him. Rudy was later diagnosed with cancer. There were also rumors that he had been accused of stealing money from the club. After years of financial troubles and relentless physical pain, he finally snapped. "This is the guy that was in your office," Bill said, the implications sinking in. Rudy Cranor had been a Catholic. Tom furrowed his brow, a theory forming since suicide was the worst sin a Catholic could commit. He might be trapped between the planes of life. The atmosphere grew thick with tension as they contemplated the unsettling idea. "One of them, we found out, was Rudy," Tom continued. "He was trading all this stuff around, and he was getting violent. It scared me, and Tom even more." I don't know, Barbara," Bill admitted, his voice shaky. "The violent way that he died. He might turn right around and use that violence again on somebody I know. And that thought just scared the hell out of me." "Calm down, it's okay. Calm down," Tom urged, but the severity of their situation loomed, an ominous reminder that they were entangled in a story steeped in regret and ghostly echoes. What Bill remained blissfully unaware of was that Barbara was harboring a terrible secret. "Yes, I'm sure," she murmured, the weight of her knowledge pressing against her chest like an anchor. Rudy's ghost had delivered a chilling message. One of the club owners was going to die soon. He's not alive, so within the shadowy confines of her awareness, the reality of impending doom gnawed at her conscience. "Be careful," she found herself whispering to them. Though it felt futile and hollow, it really affected me. The knowledge weighed heavily on my heart, because I adored both Tom and Bill so deeply. The thought of losing either one of them was almost more than I could comprehend, a terrifying prospect that sent shivers down her spine. For the two ambitious business owners, the future looked grim and uncertain. "Be careful," Barbara urged, her voice barely above a whisper, each time she helped Tom or Bill close the club. With every clang of the lock and every flick of the switch, she prayed fervently for their safety. Her heart caught in a tumult between hope and dread, haunted by the terrible secret she carried alone. In the midst of a bustling weekend night, The compressor on the beer tap suddenly lost pressure, sending a ripple of concern through the club. "All right. Just calm down," I reassured everyone, my voice steadying in the chaos. "I gotta get downstairs from here. Everything's all right. Okay. Go back to having fun with determination." Bill made his way into the basement to fix the issue. "I want to go down and give it a swift kick to get it working," he muttered, confidence masking his underlying anxiety. Yet as he descended the stairs, he found the lights were all off, engulfing him in an unsettling darkness. A sudden blast of compressed air startled Bill, sending his heart racing as the chilling realization struck him. This haunting was all too real. Embarrassment washed over him at the thought of confessing his fears to his landlord, Philip Dean. "There you go, my friend," he said, shaking off the unease as he finally managed to restore the flow. "Thank you," the response came, but his mind was a whirlpool of thoughts. "All right. Okay, have a good night," Bill replied, forcing a smile to mask his internal turmoil. "Yeah, I'll come by tomorrow again. Okay, good night. Guys, thank you." He exited the basement, the echoes of the night mingling with his apprehensive thoughts, the club pulsing with life above him, blissfully unaware of the dark secrets lurking beneath. Within just a few weeks, the unthinkable struck. Philip Dean suffered a fatal heart attack, the weight of the news crashing down on Barbara like a tidal wave. Because of Rudy's ominous warning, she found herself at a loss on how to respond to this sudden death. "I had sorrow for the family," she confessed, her voice tinged with a mixture of grief and relief. "But there was such great relief too, because it wasn't Tom and Bill. And that may sound cold or cruel, but that's how I felt it was, like relief." Now that the worst had come to pass, Barbara felt an unsettling safety in finally sharing the truth of what the ghost of Rudy Cranner had told her. "How are you feeling?" someone asked, concern etching their features. "Well," she's like, "I can tell you what Rudy told me now," she began, her heart racing. "He said one of the owners was going to die." Her listener's face twisted in shock, and she added, "I was afraid to tell you because I thought it might be one of you too." "God, that scared me," they replied, the gravity of her revelation sinking in. "It still gives me the shakes." The air grew thick with tension, the echo of Rudy's warning reverberating in their minds as the shadows of the past loomed ever larger around them. As the reality of Philip Dean's untimely demise settled heavily over them, Tom and Bill couldn't shake their growing unease. They exchanged cautious glances, grappling with the terrifying prospect that Rudy Cranner might have predicted Dean's death. Or worse, that the ghost had somehow caused it. Did Rudy have something to do with it? Tom pondered aloud, the question hanging ominously in the air. Did he have enough energy that he stopped the owner's heart? The thought sent a chill down Bill's spine. If a supernatural entity had indeed murdered Philip Dean, he feared that the same fate could befall him. "I thought maybe he's not going to draw the line at one owner," Bill admitted, his voice strained with dread. They both knew something had to be done. Tom had a suggestion that sparked a glimmer of hope. "Get a priest and bless the place." "Thanks, man," Bill replied. But the unease still lurked in the corners of his mind. "But there's still some things going on," he added, his anxiety palpable, determined to take action. Tom reached out to an old high school classmate, Gary Dilly, a Roman Catholic priest. "It's good business," Tom began, half joking, yet the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on them both. As they met, Tom asked him directly, "Do you think an evil spirit could be haunting the club?" Gary's expression grew serious. "I believe there's a spiritual realm we don't understand, and I do believe the Catholic Church also teaches that these spirits can communicate with us in different ways. We in America don't like to believe in these things because we're rational people who are highly educated. And that kind of belief," he continued, "belongs to the superstitious. But I think it's far from superstitious. I think there's a reality there." The air felt charged with unspoken fears as his words lingered, igniting the fragile terror that hovered over them all. "Hey guys," one of them called out, immersed in the warmth of the hot tub. "Why don't we show you the rest of the place here? We'll go down this all the way here." But within seconds, an ice-cold presence enveloped Father Dilly, stopping him in his tracks. "Wait a minute," he murmured, a frown creasing his brow. You could feel expectations. It felt like someone had left a door open, to a walk-in freezer. His voice dropped to a serious tone. You certainly have something here. It's right in here. Can we all wait here? I'd like to walk the rest of the way alone. With a sense of dread creeping up his spine, Dilly started walking through the entire place on his own. From the bottom of his feet to the top of his head, he felt a distinct presence trailing behind him. I could feel it, a whisper of energy that tugged insistently at his awareness. At the lake club, with two colleagues joined by shared resolve, they prepared to perform a blessing, hopeful to finally put the spirit of Rudy Cranner to rest. Tom, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the club, every room along the way, he instructed, his heart pounding. Thank you, Father, and we need to make sure we capture the spirit and send him into the arms of the Lord. Father, would you lead us? The atmosphere grew tense, shadows flickering as they gathered their courage, embracing the unknown that lay ahead. The prayer I chose was a simple yet profound version of the Saint Michael the Archangel prayer, a plea woven with history and belief. We honor the fierce battle between Santul, Michael and Lucifer. We believe Saint Michael is a powerful ally in our struggle against darkness. Saint Michael the Archangel, I began, my voice steady despite the tension in the air. Defend us in the day of battle. Be our safeguard against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. We humbly pray, and do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the other evil spirits who prowl through the world seeking the ruin of souls. The words flowed from me with an urgency that felt electric, resonating within the very walls of the club. As the prayer hung in the air, I could sense its power, briefly pushing back the shadows that loomed over us, allowing a flicker of hope to ignite in our hearts amid the gathering gloom. When the power of God casts you to hell, take it and all the other spirits with you, I implored, my voice rising with fervor. Saint Michael, our angel, defend us in our day of battle, be our safeguard. The three priests moved with careful determination toward the back office, the very spot where Rudy Cranner had committed suicide, a place that felt charged with malevolent energy, the potentially most dangerous area in the building. Saint Michael, defend us in our day of battle, be our safeguard, they chanted, their voices unified in a fragile strength against the encroaching darkness. Father Dilly's expression turned grave as he warned, these prayers can make a spirit angry, and when they get angry you don't know what they're going to do. He knew all too well that furious spirits could sometimes take possession of the living, attaching themselves to someone in the room, trying to invade their body and wrest control from them. Now that we've left the place, he urged, a hint of urgency creeping into his tone, let's get way back away from the building. What? The building's gonna blow up, I shot back, half joking, yet the underlying fear was unmistakable. Dilly met my eyes, his seriousness deepening. Could possibly happen. The dread in his words sent a shock wave of panic through me, sending my heart racing as the invisible threat intensified around us. They waited outside for almost 30 minutes, anxiety coiling in their stomachs. When they finally stepped back into the club, something had undeniably shifted in the atmosphere. As I crossed the threshold, I was taken aback. I didn't feel the cold chills that once coursed through me, nor did I sense the prickling hair rising on my neck. Instead, I felt surprisingly comfortable, like a weight had been lifted. Tom, it's much more peaceful, I declared, wonder threading through my voice. Really? He asked, skepticism lacing his tone. Yes, I replied, glancing around. The building had transformed. It was as if it held its breath, the oppressive coldness, now a distant memory. It's peaceful. Well, thank you, Tom said, relief washing over his features. Father Dilly, sensing the shift, nodded sagely. I believe that Rudy has heard our prayers. He affirmed. Thank you, Father, I appreciate it. Rudy had been stuck in time, trapped in a world that had seemingly forgotten him. I felt that through our prayers, he had finally been able to let go of this earth and ascend to where he truly belonged. The blessing had put an end to the haunting, but with it, the once thriving popularity of the club began to wane. We made it for another 6 months. Then we closed down after the blessing. I felt a newfound sense of peace settle in it. It was almost as if a curtain had been drawn back, revealing that yes, now Rudy could rest. He would finally be at peace. This experience fundamentally changed my belief in the afterlife. Certainly we don't know what awaits us, nor do we often think about it, but I sense that something continues beyond death, whatever essence remains of us. Let's just stay upstairs. Okay, y'all take care, I suggested, knowing that everything had irrevocably changed. Before all this unfolded, I had been a skeptic, never believing in ghosts, but now, I was a believer, unwavering in my conviction, indifferent to the judgments of others I knew.